methodology based on the article that they used as well. That's a situational, speech by speech, artifact by artifact basis that I wouldn't say you need to lock yourself into. But what you do need to do in these implications, like the rest of the speech, is if you're making a claim, you need to prove it. Everything you say needs to be proven. For the first example, for the first implication, I didn't have a source because it was more about the show. It was something that was actually happening within the show. They were addressing the stereotypes of Muslims, but they were also playing up, the stereotypes of, other stock figures in a situational comedy. So it was something that, there was a double-edged sword there. But for the second one, since it focuses outside of the world of the show and how it deals, in the Western world, addressing, issues within the Muslim community, that was something that I needed sources for, because I can't go on, willy-nilly about that without somebody saying, yeah, he's correct. And I had the New York Times and the Christian Science Monitor, to back me up on that one. And then, you have your conclusion where basically you sum up, you talk about the show again, you readdress the question, you answer it again, and then you go back to the AGD. And what you want to do is do all this in 10 minutes. Which, isn't that hard to do. Are there any questions before I move on to my next kind of area of discussion? Yes?
How many implications are there? As many as you need?
Typically, you don't want to have like just one. 2 to 3 is usually a good number. The more that you get, though, obviously you're going to run into a time constraint based on, how you structure your speech. But the more implications you add, the less time you're going to have to grow the actual implications into a full argument and give them the due that they deserve. So 2 to 3 is typically a good amount. If you, for some reason, there's some case where, there's more, but I highly doubt that. I would say 2 to 3. You had to.
I was going to ask, for the description of the article, that comes right there where you talk about the article?
The article itself, like the
the
communication. Yeah, actually it's going to be after the preview, right before the tenet.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a transition, but it's almost a paragraph, so it's a little more than that. So that's just, yeah. So let me put that. What temperamental mark? All right. Talking about finding, these types of finding artifacts for the speech. What you want to keep in mind is it needs to be, a campaign that has an objective. It needs to be something that has a message. That's where the strong CAs come from. Like I said, all 3 of the CAs, the 4 CAs that I did, they all clearly had an objective. They had a message that they were trying to get across, and that's what you need to do. You're also going to run into something where people are going to be doing the same artifact that you'll have, but they'll be using different methodologies. For instance, the YouTube commercial, the commercial I showed you from YouTube, there were several people doing that. My senior year, the 9/11 report was turned into a graphic cartoon. There were like 6 or 7 people who did that. Every year you'll have people, who'll be doing the CAs that you have, but it really comes down to how unique, not your take on it is with the methodology in finding the communication articles, and that's something you can do with. There's a lot, like your libraries will have research catalogs. Not JSTOR, but things similar to that, and ProQuest. I found a lot of the methodologies for my speeches as well as with my teammates. Also, talk to your communication professors. They're a wealth of information. They'll have tons of books on these topics. They'll have tons of places to send you in the right direction. So it's definitely not something that you have to do on your own. It's not something like extemp where you can be like, all right, well, I'm going to sit down at a computer and I'm going to LexisNexis, the world off of, the Georgian political situation. This is something where, it really needs a lot of help. When I started, I couldn't tell you the tenant from an application to an implication. But, it's something that you learn, but once you get it, it's something that you don't lose. And this, when you look at it, in a manner that's probably much neater than what I have on the board right now, what you guys have written down, you step away and you look back at it, it's very logical. It's once you get it, it just makes a lot of sense. And it's just, the question of what's your artifact and what's your methodology, and how are you gonna, change the structure to build those two things into it. Again, we pretty much covered everything I wanted to cover. Do any of you guys have questions? Even to you, Rod, if you have a question, man.
I haven't actually. I did crit like only once.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, yes.
What did you say the AGD is again?
Oh, yeah, the AGD is the attention-getting device.
Oh, okay.
So, for instance, for this, it was a little town up in Canada. It can be pretty much, I don't want to say it can be anything, but as long as it's relevant to the topic and you can link to it without making it a stretch, and it gets the attention, and the first sentence is the most important thing. It's, what grabs their attention. So you want it to be short and to the point. You want